Hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing? The last um the last live video I did, I read and I tried to break down 2 Esdras 7 and 8 for the fact that he really stood up on behalf of sinners and asked God a bunch of questions that I feel like were questions that a lot of people have for God and don't know where to find the answers to. And today I want to read starting at 2 Esdras 3 because we have a lot of people growing in knowledge of the wisdom in the Bible. And you have some people who are reading and studying the Bible with hatred in their heart for various reasons. I'm not going to go into those reasons today, but I'm going to start at chapter 3 because this is a condition of a people today. I'm going to read through all the way to 8, so I'm going to have minimal interjection in between. I might say a couple words, but I'm just going to read straight through it. So I ask you, to go back and look at this lesson later. Take your time. If you need to pause the video and think and ponder on something that you felt like was very deep, man, I would challenge you to do so. Challenge you to do so because there is no telling what God could give you on the matter. He might give you something special from a verse. So if it's a way you could go back and look at it and take your time and pause the video and think deep on some of the things that'll come out today, that'll be wonderful. But this is 2 Ezra starting at 3. It say, in the 13th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babylon and lay troubled upon my bed, and my thoughts came over my heart. For I saw the desolation of Sion and the wealth of them that dwell in Babylon. And my spirit was sore moved, so that I began to speak words full of fear to the Most High, and said, O Lord, who bearest rule, thou speakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and commandest the people, and gavest the body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands, and didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. And thou leadest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward. And unto him that gavest commandment to love thy way, and he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest death in him, and in his generations, of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number. And every people walked after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments. And again, in process of time, thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwelt in the world, and destroyedst them. And it came to pass in every of them, that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah, with his household, of whom came all righteous men. And it happened that when they that dwelled upon the earth began to multiply, and had gotten them many children, and were a great people, they began again to be more ungodly than the first. Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. And thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, but put by Esau. And so Jacob began became a great nation, a multitude. And it came to pass that when thou leadest his seed out of Egypt, thou broughtest them up to the Mount Sinai. And bowing the heavens, thou didst set fast the earth, movest the whole world, and made the depth to tremble, and troublest the men of that age. And thy glory went through 4 gates of fire, and of earthquake, and of wind, and of cold, that thou mightest give the law unto the seed of Jacob, and diligence unto the generation of Israel. And yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart, that the law might bring forth fruit in them. For the first Adam, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed, and was overcome, and so be all they that are born of him. Thus infirmity was made permanent, and the law in the heart of the people with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away, and the evil abode still. So the time passed away, and the years were brought to an end. Then any better that inhabit Babylon, that they shouldest therefore have the dominion over Sion. This is what a lot of people feel right now to this day. Okay. It say, and their deeds, are their deeds then any better that inhabit Babylon, that they should therefore have the dominion over Sion? For when I came thither and had seen impieties without number, then my soul saw many evildoers in the 13th year, so that my heart failed me. For I have seen how thou sufferest or allowed them sinning, and hast spared wicked doers, and hast destroyed thy people, and hast preserved thine enemies, and hast not signified it. I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Sion? Or is there any people that knoweth thee besides Israel? Or what generation hath so beloved thy covenant as Jacob? And yet their reward appeareth not, and their labor hath no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they float in wealth, and think not upon thy commandments. Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world. And so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people had so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name had kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. For the angel that was sent unto me, whose name was Uriel, gave me an answer, and said, My heart had gone too far in this world, and thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High? Then said I, Yea, my Lord. And he answered me and said, I am sent to show thee 3 ways, and to set before thee 3 similitudes before thee. Wherefore, if thou canst declare me one, I will show thee also the way that thou desirest to see. And I shall show thee from whence the wicked heart cometh. And I said, Tell on, my Lord. Then said he unto me, Go thy way. Weigh me the weight of fire, or measure me a blast of wind, or call me again the day that is past. Then answered I and said, What man is able to do that thou shouldest ask such things of me? And he said unto me, If I should ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament? Or which are the outgoings of paradise? Peradventure thou wouldest say unto me, I never went down into the deep, nor as yet into hell. Neither did I ever climb up into heaven. Nevertheless, now have I asked thee but only of fire and wind, and of the day where through thou hast passed, and of these from which thou canst not be separated, and yet canst thou give me no answer of them. He said, I only ask you about stuff that you deal with every day. You have no knowledge of what the things that you deal with every day. How could you think to understand the way of God? He say, you can't go a day without these things, yet you can't give me an answer for them. It say, nevertheless, now have I asked thee but only of fire and wind, and of the day wherethrough thou hast passed, and of these from which thou canst not be separated, and yet canst thou give me no answer of them. He said, moreover unto me, thine own things, and such as are grown up with thee, canst thou not know. How should thy vessel then be able to comprehend the way of the highest? And the world being now outwardly corrupted, to understand the corruption that is evident in my sight. That's powerful. He say, with the world being corrupt from where you could see it, how could you think that you could even begin to see it from where God sit? The thing about that is this. God say, I don't look at man the way man look at man. He looks at the heart of man. When we look at the wickedness in the world today, we look at the actions of man. How much worse or how much more wicked is the heart of man? When something happens to you that is wrong, how many thoughts of evil things come to your heart before you choose what you are going to do? When you choose what you are going to do, a lot of times that's still not right. But the first thoughts that hit your head most times are even worse than that. God sees all of that. He say, from where you sit, you see one thing. How could you think you could see it from where I sit? Because God is looking at something that is much deeper than what gets displayed on the outside. A lot of times we meditate on doing something outrageous, but then we come back to our senses and we find something we could do that's that's reasonable for us. And a lot of times that's still not right. But the worst things are the most drastic things that we think about doing. Those are the things in our heart too. That's who we wish we could be. We'll snap back to who we can be, but we'll start off thinking about who we wish we could be. And a lot of times that's way more wicked, and God even sees that. So it say, nevertheless, now have I asked thee but only of fire and wind, and of the day wherethrough thou hast passed, and of these from which thou canst not be separated, and yet canst thou give me no answer of them. He said, moreover unto me, thine own things and such as grown up with thee canst thou not know. How should thy vessel then be able to comprehend the way of the highest, and the world being now outwardly corrupted, to understand the corruption that is evident in my sight? Then said I unto him, it were better that we were not at all, than that we should live still in wickedness, and to suffer, and not know wherefore. He answered me and said, I went into a forest, into a plain, and the trees took counsel, and said, come, let us go and make war against the sea, that it may depart away before us, that we may make us more woods. The floods of the sea also in like manner took counsel and said, Come, let us go up and subdue the woods of the plain, that there also we may make us another country. The thought of the wood was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. The thought of the floods of the sea came likewise to naught, for the sand stood up and stopped them. If thou wert judged betwixt these two, whom wouldest thou begin to justify, or whom wouldest thou condemn? I answered and said, Verily, it is a foolish thought that they both have devised. For the ground is given unto the woods, and the sea also hath his place to bear his floods. Then answered he me and said, Thou hast given a right judgment. But why judgest thou not thyself also? For like as the ground is given unto the woods, and the sea to his floods, even so they that dwell upon the earth may understand nothing, but that which is upon the earth. And he that dwelleth above the heavens may only understand the things that are above the height of the heavens. Then answered I and said, I beseech thee, O Lord, let me have understanding. For it was not my mind to be curious of the high things, but of such as pass by us daily, namely wherefore Israel is given up as a reproach to the heathen, and for what cause the people whom thou hast loved is given over unto ungodly nations, and why the law of our forefathers is brought to naught, and the written covenants come to none effect. And we pass away out of the world as grasshoppers, and our life is astonishment and fear, and we are not worthy to obtain mercy. What will he then do unto his name, whereby we are called? Of these things have I asked. Then answered he me and said, The more thou searchest, the more thou shalt marvel. For the world hasteth fast to pass away, and cannot comprehend the things that are promised to the righteous in time to come. For this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities. But as concerning the things whereof thou hast asked, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good. For the grain of evil seed had been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning. And how much ungodliness has it brought up unto this time? Wonderful question. And how much shall it yet bring forth until the time of threshing come, until the time that Christ come back? Ponder now by thyself, how great fruit of wickedness the grain of evil seed had brought forth. And when the ears shall be cut down, which are without number, how great a floor shall they fill? Then I answered and said, How and when shall these things come to pass? Wherefore are our years few and evil? And he answered me, saying, Do not thou hasten above the Most High? For thy haste is in vain to be above him. For thou hast much exceeded. Did not the souls also of the righteous ask questions of these things in their chambers, saying, How long shall I hope on this fashion? When cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? And And unto these things Ariel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of seeds is filled in you, for he had weighed the world in the balance. By measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times. And he doeth not move nor stir them, until the said measure be fulfilled. Then answered I and said, O Lord, that bearest rule, even we all are full of impiety. And for our sakes peradventure it is that the floors of the righteous are not filled, because of the sins of them that dwell upon the earth. So he answered me and said, go thou to a woman with child, and ask of her, when she had fulfilled her 9 months, if her womb may keep the birth any longer within her. Then said I, no, Lord, that can she not. And he said unto me, in the grave the chambers of souls are like the womb of a woman. For like as a woman that travaileth maketh haste to escape the necessities of her travail, even so do these places haste to deliver those things which are committed unto them. From the beginning look what thou desirest to see, it shall be showed thee. Then said I and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, and if it be possible, and if I be meet, therefore, show me then whether there be more to come than is past, or more past than is to come. What is past I know, but what is for to come I know not. And he said unto me, stand up upon thy right side, and I shall expound the similitude unto you. So I stood and saw, and behold, an hot burning oven passed before me. And it happened that when the flame was gone by, I looked, and behold, the smoke remained still. And after this there passed by before me a watery cloud, and sent down much rain with a storm. And when the storm rain was past, the drops remained still. Then said he unto me, consider with thyself, as the rain is more than the drops, and as the fire is greater than the smoke, but the drops and the smoke remain behind, so the quantity which is past did more exceed. Then I prayed and said, may I live, thinkest thou, unto this time? Or what shall happen in those days? He answered me and said, as for the tokens whereof thou hast asked me, I might tell thee of them in part. But as touching thy life, I am not sent to show thee, for I do not know it. I'm going to read that one more time. Some noise in the background and say, he answered me and said, as for the tokens wherefore thou hast asked me, I may tell thee of them in part. But as touching thy life, I am not sent to show thee, for I do not know it. Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, behold, the days shall come that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number. And the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. But iniquity shall increase above that which thou now seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. And the land that thou seest now to have root shall thou see waste suddenly. But if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in a day. And blood shall drop out of wood, and the stone shall give his voice, and the people shall be troubled. And even he shall rule whom they look not for that dwell upon the earth. And the fowls shall be taken their flight away together. And the Sodomitish sea shall cast out fish, and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall oft sent out again. And the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters, and salt water shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into its secret chamber, and shall be sought of many, and not be found. Then shall unrighteousness and incontinence be multiplied upon the earth. One land also shall ask another, and say, Is righteousness that maketh a man righteous gone through thee? And it shall say, No. And the same time shall men hope, but not obtain. They shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. To show thee such tokens I have leave. And if thou wilt pray again, and weep as now, and fast 7 days, thou shalt hear yet greater things. Then I awakened. An extreme fearfulness went through all my body, and my mind was troubled, so that it fainted. So the angel that was come to talk with me held me, comforted me, and set me upon my feet. And in the second night it came to pass that Salathiel, the captain of the people, came unto me, saying, Where hast thou been? And why is thy countenance so heavy? Knowest thou not that Israel is committed unto thee in the land of their captivity? Up then, and eat bread, and forsake us not, as the shepherd that leaveth his flock in the hands of cruel wolves. Then said I unto him, Go thy way from me, and come not near me. And heard what I said, and went from me. So I fasted 7 days, mourning and weeping, like as Ariel the angel commanded me. And after 7 days, so was that the thoughts of my heart were very grievous unto me again. And my soul recovered the spirit of understanding. And I began to talk with the Most High again, and said, O Lord, that bearest rule of every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee one only vine. And of all the lands of the whole world thou hast chosen thee one pit, and of all the flowers thereof one lily. And of all the depths of the sea thou hast filled thee one river. And of all the builded cities thou hast hallowed Zion unto thyself. And of all the fowls that are created thou hast named thee one dove. And of all the cattle that are made thou hast provided thee one sheep. And among all the multitudes of people thou hast gotten thee one people. And unto this people whom thou lovest thou gavest a law that is approved of all. And now, O Lord, why hast thou given this one people over unto many? And upon the one root hast thou prepared others, and hast thou scattered thy only one people among many. And they which did gainsay thy promises, and believe not thy covenants, have trodden them down. If thou didst so much hate thy people, yet shouldest thou punish them with thine own hands. Now when I had spoken these words, the angel that came to me the night afore was sent unto me. And he said unto me, Hear me, and I will instruct thee. Hearken to the things that I am come to tell thee. And they which did gainsay thy promises and beloved not thy covenants have trodden them down. And if thou didst so much hate thy people, yet shouldest thou punish them with thine own hands. Now when I had spoken these words, the angel that came to me the night afore was sent unto me, and said unto me, Hear me, and I will instruct thee. Hearken to the things that I say, and I shall teach thee more. And I said, Speak on, my Lord. Then said he unto me, Thou art sore troubled in mind for Israel's sake. Lovest thou that people better than he that made them? He said, You think you love them people more than God? And I said, No, Lord, but of very grief have I spoken. For my reins pain me every hour, while I labor to comprehend the way of the Most High, and to seek out the part of his judgment. And he said unto me, Thou canst not. And I said, Wherefore, Lord? Whereunto was I born then? Or why was not my mother's womb then my grave? Then I might not have seen the travail of Jacob, and the wearisome toil of those, the stock of Israel. And he said unto me, Number me the things that are not yet come. Gather me together the drops that are scattered abroad. Make me the flowers green again that are withered. Open me the places that are closed, and bring me forth the winds that in them are shut up. Shew me the image of a voice, and then I will declare to thee the thing that thou laborest to know. And I said, O Lord, that bearest rule, who may know these things but he that had not his dwelling with men? As for me, I am unwise. How may I then speak of these things whereof thou hast asked me? Then said he unto me, Like as thou canst do none of these things that I have spoken of, even so canst thou not find out my judgment, or in the end the love that I have promised unto my people. And I said, Behold, O Lord, yet art thou nigh unto them that be reserved to the end. And what shall they do that have been before me, or we, or they that shall come after us? And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring. Like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. So I answered and said, Could thou not make those that have been made and be now, and that are for to come at once, that thou mightest show thy judgment the sooner? Then answered he me and said, The creature may not haste above the Maker, neither may the world hold them at once that shall be created therein. And I said, As thou hast said unto thy servant, that thou, which givest life to all, hast given life at once to the creature that thou hast created. And the creature bare, even so it may now also bear them that now be present at once. And he said unto me, Ask the womb of a woman, and say unto her, If thou bringest forth 4 children, why does it not together? Why doest thou it not together, but one after another? Pray her therefore to bring forth 10 children at once. And I said, She cannot, but must do it by distance of time. Then said he unto me, Even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their times. For like as a young child may not bring forth the things that belong to the age, even so have I disposed the world which I created. And I asked and said, Seeing thou hast now given me the way, I will proceed to speak before thee. For our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth now nigh unto age. And he said And he answered me and said, Ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, Wherefore are not thine womb thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature? Read that again. Say unto her, Wherefore are not they whom thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less in stature? And she shall answer thee, They that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age are otherwise. Consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you. And so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creature which now begin to be old and have passed over the strength of youth. Then said I, Lord, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature. And he said unto me, In the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightning, or even the fountains of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or even the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys of Sion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, or ever the present years were sought out, and or ever the adventures of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of this world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Very powerful statement. Very powerful. I want to read it again, but I don't want to just break down what it means, but I want to break down what it means to us. It said, And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of this world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Now, there is a lot of ways you could take this scripture and make fruit of it. There's fleshly ways and spiritual ways, but what I want to talk about is that where we stop or where we leave off, our next generation starts there. The next generation, our kids and our grandkids, our kids grab our heel. A lot of us didn't get, at my age, didn't get introduced to social media till we were older. This is where we at now. Our kids are starting where we left off. We have kids in elementary. They come out of the womb knowing how to operate these devices, already captivated by different social medias, TikToks, captivated by these cell phones and tablets. So that's not just really all it's saying, but that's a good way to look at it. The next, who we handing the torch out, who we handing the baton to, they starting where we leave off. That's something powerful for us to be able to use, thinking about how we act today in the world. But let's say, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Esdras asked thou not. I answered then and said, O Lord that bearest rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, show thy servant the end of thy tokens, whereof thou showest me part the last night. So he answered and said unto me, stand up upon thy feet, and hear a mighty a sounding voice, and it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. And therefore, when it speak, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundations of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembleth and is moved, for it knoweth that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened that when I heard it, I stood upon my feet and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh, and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them. What they be, they have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and will begin to make inquisition of them. What they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Sion shall be fulfilled, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The woman with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sowing places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear it, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape, and see my salvation, and the end of your world. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth. And the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed, and turn into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. And the truth which hath been so long without fruit shall be declared. And when he talketh with me, behold, I looked by little and little upon him before whom I stood. And these words said he unto me, I am come to show thee the time of the night to come. If thou wilt pray yet more and fast 7 days again, I shall tell thee greater things by day than I have heard. For thy voice is heard before the Most High, and the mighty has seen thy righteous dealing, and has seen also thy chastity, which thou hast had ever since thy youth. And therefore hath he set me to show thee all these things, and to say unto thee, Be of good comfort, and fear not. And hasten not with the times that are past to think vain things, that thou mayest not hasten from the latter times. And it came to pass after this that I wept again, and fasted 7 days in like manner, that I might fulfill the 3 weeks which he told me. And in the 8th night my heart was vexed within me again, and I began to speak before the Most High. For my spirit was greatly set on fire, and my soul was in distress. And I said, O Lord, that speakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and sayest thus, Let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. And then was the spirit, and darkness and silence were on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed. Then commandest thou a fair light to come forth of thy treasures, that thy work might appear. Upon the 2nd day thou madest the spirit of the firmament, and commandest it to part asunder, and to make a division betwixt the waters, that one part might go up, and the other part remain beneath. Upon the 3rd day thou commandest the waters that it should be gathered in the 7th part of the earth. 6 parts hast thou dried up and kept them, to the intent that of these some being planted of God and tilled might serve thee. For as soon as thy word went forth, the work was made. For immediately there was great and innumerable fruit, and many of divers pleasures for the taste, and flowers of unchangeable color, and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the 3rd day. Upon the 4th day thou commandest that the sun should shine, and that the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order. And gavest them a charge to do service unto men that was to be made. Upon the 5th day thou sayest unto the 7th part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls and fishes, and so it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things, as commanded of God, that all people may praise thy wondrous works. Then didst thou ordain 2 living creatures, the one thou calledest Enoch, and the other Leviathan, and didst separate the one from the other, for the 7th part might not hold them both. Until Enoch thou gavest 1 part, which was dried up the 3rd day, and he shouldest dwell in the same part wherein are 1,000 lilies. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the 7th part, namely the moist, and has kept him to be devoured, of whom thou wilt, and when. Upon the 6th day thou gavest commandment unto the earth, that before thee it shall bring forth beasts, cattle, and creepy things. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures. Of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people which also come from Adam, thou hast said that they are like nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened them to the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen which have ever been reputed as beasts have begun to be lords over us, and to devour us. But we thy people are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? And when I had made an end of these speakings of these words, there was sent unto me the angel which had been sent unto me the nights afore. And he said unto me, Up, Esdras, and hear the words that I am come to tell thee. And I said, Speak on, my God. Then he said unto me, The sea is set in a wide place, that it may be deep and great. But put the case the entrance were narrow like a river. Who then could go into the sea to look upon it and to rule it? If he went not through the narrow, how could he come to the broad? There is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. The entrance thereof is narrow, and set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water, and only one path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could be but only one man go there at once. If this city were now given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass through the danger set before it, how shall he receive the inheritance? And I said, It is so, Lord. Then he said unto me, Even so also is Israel's portion. Because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils, and very painful. For the entrances of the elder world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit. If then they that live labor not to enter into these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. Now therefore, why disquietest thyself, seeing thou art but a corruptible man? And why art thou moved, whereas thou art but mortal? Why hast thou not considered in thy mind this thing that is to come, rather than that which is present? Then said I, and said, O Lord, that bearest rule, thou hast ordained in thy law that the righteous should inherit these things, but that the ungodly should perish. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things, and hope for wide. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the wide. And he said unto me, There is no judge above God, and none that have understanding above the highest. For there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of God that is set before them. For God had given them straight commandments to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, what they should observe to avoid punishment. Nevertheless, when they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him, and imagined vain things, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High, He is not, and knew not his ways, but his law have they despised, and denied his covenants. In his statutes have they not been faithful, and have not performed his works. And therefore, Esdras, for the empty are empty things, and for the full are full things. Behold, the time shall come that these tokens which I have told thee shall come to pass, and the bride shall appear, and she coming forth shall be seen, and now is withdrawn from the earth. And whosoever is delivered from the foresaid evils shall see my wonders. For my son Jesus shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. After these years shall my son Christ die, and all men that have life, and the world shall be turned into old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgments, so that no man shall remain. And after those 7 days the world that yet awaketh not shall be raised up, and that shall die that is corrupt. And the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her, and so shall the dust those that dwell in silence. And the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. And the highest shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away, and the long suffering shall have an end. But judgment only shall remain, truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong, and the works shall follow, and the reward shall be showed, and the good deeds shall be of force, and wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Then said I, Abraham prayed first for the Sodomites, and Moses for the fathers that sinned in the wilderness, and Jesus after him for Israel in the time of Achan, and Samuel and David for the destruction, and Solomon for them that should come to the sanctuary, and Helias for those that receive rain, and for the dead that he may live, and Ezekias for the people in the time of Sennacherib, and many for many. Even so now seeing corruption is grown up, and wickedness increased, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly, wherefore shall it not be so also? And he answered me and said, This present life is not the end, wherefore much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of immorality for to come, wherein corruption is past, and temperance is at an end. Infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that had gotten the victory. I answered then and said, This is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have given the years unto Adam, or else when it was given to him, to have restrained him from sinning. For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after death to look for punishment? O thou Adam, what hast thou done? For though it was thou that sinned, thou art not fallen alone, but we are all that come of thee. For what profit is it unto us if there be promised us an immortal time wherein we have done the works that bring death, and that there is promised us an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves being most wicked are made vain, and that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas have lived wickedly, and that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which lead a weary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all. And that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security and medicine, which we should not enter into it. For we have walked in unpleasant places, and that the face of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness. For while we live and commit iniquity, we consider not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Then answered he me and said, This is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight, that if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I have said. For this is the life whereof Moses spake unto the people while he lived, saying, Choose thee life that thou mayest live. Nevertheless, they believed not him, nor the prophets after him, no, nor me which have spoken unto them, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction, as shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. I answered then and said, I know, Lord, that the Most High is called merciful, and that he had mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world, and upon those also that turn to his law, and that he is patient and long-suffering those that have sinned as his creatures, and that he is bountiful, for he is ready to give where he is needed, and that is of great mercy, for he multiplied more and more mercies to them that are present, and that are past, and also them which are to come. For if he shall not multiply his mercies, the world will not continue with them that inherit therein. And he pardoned. For if he did not so of his goodness, that they which have committed iniquity might be eased of them, the 10,000 part of men should not remain living. And being judged, if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word, and put out the multitude of contentions, there should be very few left peradventure in an innumerable multitude. And he answered me, saying, The Most High had made this world for many, but the world to come for a few. I will tell thee a similitude, Esdras. As when thou askest the earth, it shall say unto thee, that it giveth much mold whereof earthen vessels are made. But little dust that gold cometh from. Even so is the course of this present world. There be many created, but few shall be saved. So answered I and said, Swallow then down, O my soul, understanding, and devour wisdom. For thou hast agreed to give ear, and art willing to prophesy. For thou hast no longer space then only to live. O Lord, if thou wilt suffer not thy servant, that we may pray before thee, and thou give us seed unto our heart, and culture to our understanding, that there may come fruit of it. How shall each man live that is corrupt, who beareth the place of a man? For thou art alone, and we all one workmanship of thy hands, like as thou hast said. For when the body is fashioned now in the mother's womb, and thou givest it members, and thy creature is preserved in fire and water, and 9 months doeth thy workmanship endure thy creature which is created in her. But that which is kept, that which keepeth and is kept, shall both be preserved. And when the time cometh, the womb preserved delivered up the thing that grew in it. For thou hast commanded out of the part of the body, that is to say, out of the breast milk to be given, which is the fruit of the breast, that the thing which is fashioned may be nourished for a time, till thou disposes it to thy mercy. For thou broughtest it up with thy righteousness, and nourished it in thy law, and reformest it with thy judgment. And thou shalt mortify it as thy creature, and quicken it as thy work. If therefore thou shalt destroy him which with so great labor was fashioned, it is an easy thing to be ordained by thy commandment, that the thing which is made might be preserved. Now therefore, Lord, I will speak, but touching thy people, for whose sake I am sorry, and for thine inheritance, for whose cause I mourn, and for Israel, from whom I am heavy, and for Jacob, for whose sake I am troubled. Therefore will I begin to pray before thee, for myself and for them, for I see the follies of us that dwell in the land. But I have heard the swiftness of the judgment which is to come. Therefore hear my voice and understand my words, and I shall speak before thee. This is the beginning of the words of Esdras before he was taken up. And I said, O Lord, thou that dwellest in everlastingness, which beholdest from above things in heaven and in the air, whose throne is inestimable, whose glory may not be comprehended, before whom the host of angels stand with trembling, whose service is conversing in wind and fire, whose word is true and sayings constant, whose commandment is strong and ordinance fearful, whose look drieth up the depths, and indignation make the mountains to melt away, which the truth witnesseth. O hear the prayer of thy servant, and give ear to the petition of thy creature. For while I live I will speak, and as so long as I have understanding I will answer. O look not upon the sins of thy people, but on them which serve thee in truth. Regard not the wicked inventions of the heathen, but the desire of those that keep thy testimonies in afflictions. Think not upon those that have walked vainly before thee, but remember them which according to thy will have known thy fear. Let it not be thy will to destroy them which have lived like beasts, but to look upon them that have clearly taught thy law. Take thou no indignation at them which are deemed worse than beasts, but love them that always put their trust in thy righteousness and glory. For we and our fathers do languish of such diseases, but because of us sinners thou shalt be called merciful. For if thou hast a desire to have mercy upon us, thou shalt be called merciful, to us namely that have no works of righteousness. For the just have many good works laid up with thee, shall out of their own deeds receive reward. For what is man that thou shouldest take displeasure at him? Or what is a corruptible generation that thou shouldest be so bitter toward it? For in truth there is no man among them that be born but he that had dealt wickedly. And among the faithful there is none that had not done amiss. For in this, O Lord, thy righteousness and thy goodness shall be declared, if thou be merciful unto them which have not the confidence of good works. Then answered he me and said, Some things thou hast spoken are right, and according to thy words it shall be. For indeed I would not think upon the disposition of them that have sinned before death, before judgment, and before destruction. But I will rejoice over the disposition of the righteous, and I will remember also their pilgrimage, and their salvation, and the reward that they shall have. Like I have spoken unto now, so shall it come to pass. For as the husbandman soweth much seed upon the ground, and planteth many trees, and yet the thing that is sown good in its season cometh not up, neither that all that is planted take root. Even so is it of them that are sown in the world. They shall not all be saved. I answered then and said, If I have found grace, let me speak. Like as the husbandman's seed perisheth, if it come not up, and receiveth not the rain in due season, or if there come too much rain and corrupt it, even so perisheth man also which is formed with thy hands, and is called thine own image, because thou art like unto him, for whose sake thou hast made all things, and likened him unto the husbandman's seed. Be not wroth with us, but spare thy people, and have mercy upon thine own inheritance, for thou art merciful unto thy creature. Then answered he me and said, The things present are for the present, and things to come for such as be to come. For thou comest far short that thou shouldst be able to love my creature more than I. But I have oftentimes drawn nigh unto thee and unto it, but never to the unrighteous. For this also thou art marvelous before the Most High, and that thou hast humbled thyself as it becometh thee, and hast not judged thyself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous. For many great miseries shall be done to them, that in the latter time shall dwell upon in the world, because they have walked in great pride. But understood thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like thee. For unto you is paradise opened, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteous is made ready, a city is builded, and rest is allowed, yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. The root of evil is sealed up from you. Weakness and the moth is hidden from you, and corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Sorrows are past, and in the end is shewed the treasure of immorality. And therefore ask thou no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. For when they had taken liberty, they despised the Most High, thought scorn of his law, and forsook his ways. Moreover, they have trodden down his righteous, and said in their heart that there is no God, yea, and knowing that they must die. For as the thing aforesaid shall receive you, so thirst and pain are prepared for them. For it was not his will that men should come to naught, but they which be created have defiled the name of him that made them, and were unthankful unto him which prepared life for them. And therefore it is my judgment now at hand. These things have I showed not unto all men, but unto thee, and a few like thee. Then answered I, and said, Behold, O Lord, now hasten thou to show me the multitude of the wonders which thou began to do in the last times. But at what time thou hast not showed me. So that's 2 Esdras 3 through 8. I did it with very little commentary. If you could go back and look at the lesson, you could pause it, think deep on the things that are said, and see what God give you, because he might give you something fresh and give you a different perspective that other people may not get to see. And it's just a beautiful reading to me, and it shows so much It answers so many questions. It answers so many things that people have in their heart concerning God, and why did he make hell, and why are we oppressed, and why people treat us bad, why we don't get treated fair. It have a lot of those answers, but it's all for the thing that is to come. He say, why do you meditate on what now is instead of thinking on the things that I'm telling you are coming? The promise of what God has coming to us is worth what we go through in this world. Man, it's a beautiful read. It's 2 Esdras. It's 2 ESDRAS. 2 Esdras. It'll pull up if you Google it. But I download the 1611 Bible, which had an Apocrypha, and these are one of the books that was in the 1611 King James, the original King James. But I love y'all, and I will talk to you soon.